In this segment, we will, in brief overview, explore the beginnings of the First World War in Europe. The anticipation of a short conflict was disappointed by the facts of balance of power politics, setting the great powers of the world on a course of 4 years of bloody conflict. We will begin by assessing the two alliance systems at the beginning of the war. The core alliance against Germany consisted of France and Russia. This partnership stemmed from both historical and geographical factors. France, having been defeated by the Germans in the 1870s, harbored animosity. Meanwhile, Russia felt threatened by Germany's increasing might and expansionist ambitions. They'd found common ground in a strategic alliance. If Germany were to declare war on either France or Russia, it would have to fight on two fronts simultaneously, a highly undesirable scenario. In response, Germany aligned itself with Austria-Hungary, a long-established empire controlling much of southeastern Europe, and the newly unified nation of Italy. This bloc became known as the Central Powers, a self-explanatory name reflecting their geographical position in Europe. Additionally, there was the neutral nation of Belgium. While declaring its non-alignment, Belgium's strategic location made it a potential invasion route for Germany to enter France. To protect Belgium's neutrality, Britain pledged support, stipulating that if Belgium were invaded, Britain would enter the war. This pledge, combined with the existing alliances, formalized the counterbalance to the Central Powers known as the Triple Entente, comprised of Britain, France, and Russia. As tensions escalated in Europe, pre-war planning proved crucial. All sides had meticulously crafted mobilization strategies in anticipation of a potential conflict. This period saw a significant shift in warfare, with industrialization leading to a more mechanized approach. Germany's central plan, the Schlieffen Plan, aimed for a swift victory in the West. It called for a rapid invasion through Belgium, bypassing French fortifications, and encircling French forces with a decisive offensive towards Paris. The swift capture of the French capital, it was believed, would knock France out of the war before Russia could fully mobilize on the Eastern Front. However, the Schlieffen Plan had a critical flaw: inflexibility. Once set in motion, the complex troop movements were difficult to alter. This inflexibility stemmed from the prevailing belief across Europe that any war would be short-lived. Mobilization, the process of readying military forces for war, was a cumbersome undertaking. Stopping mobilization midstream to de-escalate tensions was simply not considered a viable option. As tensions reached a boiling point, Germany initiated mobilization, triggering a domino effect. This, in turn, led to the invasion of Belgium and France. While German forces advanced quickly, their progress was ultimately halted. The decision to invade Belgium drew Britain into the conflict, bolstering French defenses. The combined Allied forces managed to stop the German advance just outside Paris, forcing a German retreat. The Schlieffen Plan's ambitious goal of a quick victory in the West had fallen short. The initial failure of the Schlieffen Plan led to a grueling 4-year stalemate on the Western Front. The intricate system of alliances, designed as a deterrent, had backfired. The premise was that invading one nation meant facing its entire bloc of allies, making outright victory virtually impossible. Unfortunately, this premise proved accurate. While individual battles might see a decisive victor, neither side could achieve the overwhelming advantage needed to break the war's deadlock. This stalemate gave rise to the infamous trench warfare. Both sides entrenched themselves in vast networks of fortified ditches, stretching from the North Sea to Switzerland. Attempts to dislodge the enemy resulted in horrific losses with minimal territorial gain. With conventional military strategies failing, both sides turned to a different kind of warfare: economic warfare. The goal was to cripple the enemy's ability to wage war by disrupting its economy and depriving it of vital resources. Economic warfare initially aimed to prevent trade with America's enemies, hoping to stifle their ability to wage war. The British instituted a blockade of the North Sea and Mediterranean to restrict trade with the Central Powers. Conversely, Germany announced unrestricted submarine warfare, asserting the right to sink any ships found within a designated exclusion zone around the British Isles, without warning. Essentially, Britain demanded that no one trade with Germany, while Germany demanded the same of Britain. This conflict directly opposed the United States' insistence on free trade. As a result, the United States expressed disapproval towards both Germany and Britain. It's important to understand that the United States and Britain did not enjoy the close alliance that exists today. Many Americans still resented the British, recalling them as the former tyrannical power they rebelled against for independence. Recall our discussion last week about the near war between the United States and Britain over Venezuela in 1894. Furthermore, the substantial Irish-American population held long-standing animosity toward England, while German Americans retained a sense of loyalty toward their homeland. Consequently, America was not automatically inclined to side with the British. True neutrality persisted alongside internal divisions within the United States, with a significant portion of the population supporting each side of the conflict. President Woodrow Wilson favored supporting Britain in the war primarily due to its alliance with France. Both nations shared a commonality with the United States in their democratic, liberal systems of government. This posed a dilemma since an alliance with Britain and France would also align the U.S. with Russia, a nation possessing a starkly contrasting, antiquated monarchy. Wilson's desire to promote the spread of democracy worldwide conflicted with the reality of potential wartime partnership with Russia, creating a reluctance to involve the United States in the conflict. This situation directly challenged the long-standing principles of American foreign policy, non-interference in European affairs coupled with insistence on free trade. The United States found itself facing a difficult choice: abandon its commitment to free trade or intervene in European affairs. This dilemma sparked intense internal debate within the United States regarding potential war involvement. Understanding Wilson's perspective on the conflict is important. The war itself was fundamentally a struggle for global empire, whether dominance would remain with Britain and France, or if the rising power of Germany would seize control. Neither side fought for ideals of government, be they democratic or monarchical. Their objectives centered on imperial power. The United States, with Wilson at the helm, had different priorities. Empire building was not a concern. Wilson's focus prioritized the spread of democracy. Consequently, the United States would eventually become involved in the war, driven by motivations distinct from those held by the other belligerents. In upcoming discussions, we'll examine whether this pattern of divergent motivations recurs in later conflicts. In 1915, Germany sank the British ship Lusitania. Though British in origin, the Lusitania carried numerous American passengers alongside American war material. Germany's justification stemmed from its policy of unrestricted submarine warfare. This policy violated established rules of maritime warfare that required attacking vessels to offer merchant ships the opportunity to surrender. Traditionally, a warning shot would be fired across the merchant vessel's bows, signaling an opportunity for surrender and subsequent capture, or destruction if surrender was refused. Submarines, however, were inherently vulnerable when surfaced. Surfacing to issue warnings exposed them to potential attack by even merchant vessels. Consequently, submarines would often attack without warning, a tactic widely condemned as a barbaric breach of wartime conduct. Keep in mind, the concept of rules of war is largely a Western construct. In its purest essence, war is the antithesis of rules. Nonetheless, the West effectively used Germany's violations to present a persuasive moral argument to sway American opinion. Britain seized this opportunity, launching a successful propaganda campaign targeted at the American public. Their goal was to shift sentiment in their favor, and they achieved it. Gradually, American opinion tilted towards supporting the British against Germany. In response to the Lusitania attack, President Wilson issued a stark proclamation of strict accountability. This meant that further violations of maritime warfare rules would trigger American entry into the war. Germany, while dismissive of the United States, recognized that the delicate balance of power could be irrevocably tipped against them by American involvement. As a result, they temporarily halted their unrestricted submarine warfare policy, thus delaying direct U.S. involvement in the war. Wilson's 1916 re-election campaign capitalized on this, with the slogan, "He kept us out of war."
Please proceed to answer the questions in the assignment on Canvas. If you have any questions, you can post them in the open forum discussion or contact the professor using Canvas email.